let's just start with Saquon Barkley, guys. No graphics for this one. Just gonna talk about Barkley for a bit. We all probably touched on him too much, talked about him too much. The question is though, where do you think he's gonna land? And I'm probably gonna start it off, guys. At first, I wanted to say the Los Angeles Chargers because Jim was being so aggressive in his talks about him on podcasts. But then the more I thought about it, I'm gonna say a good fit for Barkley, I honestly feel would be the Houston Texans. You got a young quarterback. You got a great coach that came from San Francisco that utilizes the run. You got a underrated offensive line with good coaching can become pretty mediocre and pretty good and block way better than our offensive line did for him. Outside of Andrew Thomas, because Andrew Thomas is good. But that being said, though, I think Houston and that whole regime that they're building in that culture, I think that's a bomb fit. And hopefully he gets his money. Now, for instance, there is rumors I want to take my time to touch on. A lot of people was talking about like us trying to negotiate with Barkley and bring him in. And if we don't bring in Barkley, we're gonna try to get Josh Jacobs and stuff like that. Honestly, guys, like if you don't pay Barkley, don't pay a running back.
What will be the difference in that?
So, yeah,
Who will make?
yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah.
But why would that make sense? If you're going to bring a guy like Josh Jacobs in, you already have Saquon Barkley here. So what the hell? That would be like. It's just ridiculous.
No point. So
it's asinine.
Well, that's a rumor I think is drummed up by his agent because obviously, like a running back needing team.
Grenades, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I love that.
Trying to bring up the negotiations. But if you are living under a rock, you understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say Texans. Now I'm going to pass it over to Mac. We'll touch on Barkley. What do you think a good fit for Barkley is?
I mean, you already said one of the big ones, Houston Texans. I think is a great fit. But I think you got teams like if Baltimore wanted to go in that direction. Go after a guy like Saquon Barkley helps, just kind of give them a little extra stability in their backfield. I mean, I know they do pretty well with their committee, but you can have a little more stability with a guy like Barkley back there. J.K. Dobbins has had serious, major knee injury issues with his career, unfortunately, so you just don't know how much you can truly depend on that young man. And as another couple of good fits that nobody's going to want to hear me say, but it's the reality of the situation, and that's right in our own division. The Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles will both be great fits for Saquon Barkley as well. I know as a Giants fan, I don't want to have to put either one of those uniforms on, but it's a reality. It is a reality that could happen, and I mean they both would be great fits. Two teams that I think could use. Well, I mean, Eagles not as much, but the Eagles just know how to use those running backs the right way. And then the Dallas Cowboys, they proved this year with Tony Pollard that he's not a bell cow. I'm not saying, throw him out like the garbage, but he proved not to be that guy that they can depend on to be that bell cow. He much better in the role that he was with the team when Zeke Elliott was there, as that changed the pace back for them. And they got a guy like Barkley in there that could just, once again, like I said, just add major stability to the backfield and establish a proven guy, a guy that's never even had an opportunity to run behind a good off line in his career. So you just really never know what you're going to get from that perspective. Somebody may not be as explosive as he once was his first couple of years of his career, but at the end of the day, you know what you're getting in Saquon Barkley 100%. No matter who gets them, and it's an interesting free agent class of running backs. Period. We're talking about Saquon here, but you got Derrick Henry out here. You got Derrick Henry out there. You got, like you just said, Josh Jacobs. This is a great.
I like DeAndre Swift. That's who I like.
And now it's time to see. It's time to see what these guys, what this market is going to be like for these running backs. I mean, we already know how the league seems to view running backs and. They don't get paid, man. So we're going to see because there's a lot of big name ones out there, and they're going to demand a little bit of respect with the contracts that they receive. So,
and I think they'll get some of them. Will get them.
How this does play out.
Who's going to be that team that breaks it, right? Who's going to be that team that gives them that $13 million a year? Right?
Well, it's going to be one, and it's probably going to be like Max said. He said some good ones. It'd be interesting to see him on the Cowboys. Because with a good line, would that make them the over-the-top team that, they'd have a dynamic run game now where a guy could take them over the top and you take less off of Dak's plate in terms of having the pressure on him because he'd have a stud wide receiver, a decent tight end, stud running back, and a quarterback that can spray the ball across the field. That'd be interesting. The Eagles would also be interesting because then they can get back to their run game where it was 5 yards in a cloud of dust, and then Jalen Hurts was at his best because you didn't know if he had an RPO. You run an RPO with Saquon Barkley and Hurts in the backfield. You're talking about, nightmares for the defense. Might kind of change up your thinking on and methodology. So that might be something they want to think about if they want Jalen Hurts to succeed. I think Jalen Hurts is one of the best option quarterbacks we've seen. I think that's where he thrives, is where he can run the RPO and run it effectively, but he needs a strong backfield in order to do it. And that Saquon Barkley would do that. My dark horse team, and I know it's probably an odd one, but is the Cleveland Browns. They're in the market for a running back. They lost their running back last year. I know that he's going to come back, but he had a horrific knee injury. You could probably bring Barkley in and have a competition and still be you could see that they needed a dynamic back in that game to help them out a lot. And I think Barkley could be that back for them that kind of puts them over the top. They don't have many weapons. They don't have a lot of weapons, but they do have some weapons. Is that the annual salary they're thinking that's going to go for Barkley?
That's what the average, what they're thinking.
So
Obviously,
almost $10 million.
Stood in that bidding war, right? Stood in that bidding war at 9.9, 10 million, yes.
Okay, so the Giants aren't paying him that much money. They're not.
No. And to be honest, we offered him that twice, and he denied it. So that being said, he is going to move on. We have about 38 million. I know we can finesse, but at the end of the day, we have a lot of work to do on this offensive line, and this is the year to do it in free agency.
Oh,
so
yes.
9.9, I don't think we spend that on him.
Well, it's
just to start
let's hope he doesn't get desperate. This is what I don't want to happen, right? Let's say they offer him 8.9, $1 million less, right? And he goes out there, and there's a team out there that offers him 9 or 10 million, and he's just scared to test the market and comes back and plays for the $8 million. I'm like, dude, I would like to see him figure it out. Go to a team, be there, get a winner, be a winner. Because what he's missing is that if he becomes a champion somewhere, he's going to make his money. He can still get into the media. He can still do all the things after football that he wants. And I know he wants to be once a giant, always a giant. But if we're in rebuilding mode, which this free agency class would allow you to win a few more games, but if we don't think we're going to get to the playoffs, why are we going to waste another year of your good years here? And you already turned down a deal where you're getting paid $14 million a year. And you bet on yourself. And I don't blame him for doing that. Again, the running back position is a funny one because if you don't have a good one, you don't win anything. And if you don't have a good run game, which is what people want now, well, then you need to figure out you can still have a dynamic back and still have a run game. Like that's what people need to understand. Like the problem with Barkley is that you built an offense around him. What you could do is if you had another back that was versatile, you can move him out of screenplays, motion him out of the backfield, do all these things that you do with CMC. But if you don't have a running back and you only rely on him because he's your star player, you get what you got out of Barkley. I don't want to see him do poorly. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he gets his money. I want him to know that you can make money anywhere you go. So,
well said.